Black and gold, black and gold, black and gold. Give me a time, give me a place.
Red light too?
And the red light too.
Sweet.
On air, everything.
Yeah, this is literally like a radio. And we're trying to resemble WDV here.
Oh, you guys are pulling it off well.
DVE.
We're
Yeah.
getting there.
It
I was
looks
just
good.
want to binge on YouTube of like all the old DVEs where they make like the songs about Pittsburgh, like the Pittsburgh accent. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever seen any of it, but it's pretty funny.
I've
It's
seen
like,
a few of them, yeah.
They did them a long time ago, like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Check it out though if you have.
Pittsburgh's going.
They got
to
one. It's like the
Super Bowl.
downtown song.
Yeah, they're doubling down even more on the whole Pittsburgh thing, like the Yinzer.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much more of that now than ever before.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
need
it's
it.
big
Like,
right now.
everybody around Pittsburgh. I mean, as soon as you say anything like this is Pittsburghese, everybody's in. They're like tuning in. I'm listening.
I know.
But
know.
intro, we'll get into this podcast. We appreciate you, Mark Ferrari, coming down and
No problem. Thanks
hopping
for
on
having me.
episode 34. You were my previous middle school teacher at Bethel Park,
Yes.
and always were grinding on music, whether if it was playing or trying to get gigs somewhere, and like to see the path and the trajectory since catching up recently. We knew we wanted to have you on. We appreciate you coming down, and I mean, getting into it a little bit. Where did the inspiration come from? Where did this all start for you?
Definitely started as a kid. Like, I always gravitated to music. I loved singing it. I didn't know why. I just loved the way it made me feel. And so I always tell people, like, the way that made me feel at that age, as I got older, I realized I wanted to recreate that feeling for myself, and make music that could make me feel that way, and then hopefully make other people feel the same way it makes me feel. So to be able to create music and reproduce that feeling for myself, that was the goal. And you have to really love it to want to do that. But at a young age, I just loved music and just loved the way it made me feel.
When did you start playing?
Well, I've been singing since I could even remember, and like nothing formal. It was just always, I just always have been doing it. I didn't pick up a guitar until I was like 21.
Really?
So that's a little bit later to get started as far as guitar playing. I mean, I played other instruments like as a kid, but they weren't anything that was it wasn't piano, it wasn't guitar. My parents made me play the clarinet when I was in grade school and stuff, which I'm thankful for that, only because it taught me how to read music. It taught me about theory. I learned a lot about harmony, which is so important in music. And it helped develop my ear as well. So, you can read music on paper and play the notes, but it's nice when you have the ear to go with it too, because it just is such an advantage over someone who doesn't have that. And there are people that don't have that, but most musicians, they have it. So,
Yeah.
It was like growing up, who were like some of the big artists you listened to, like inspiration wise?
All right. Well, I grew up in the 80s. Like, that was like my childhood years, high school in the 90s. But 80s, like starting out, I loved pop music in general. So I liked pretty much everything that was on the radio at that time. But I really loved Bryan Adams, which I just saw last Friday. He was at the PPG Paints.
Summer of '69.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Taylor Swift brought him on for the comedy or her tour. Did you see that?
Oh, really?
And they played it live, and there was like all these young girls that were then listening to Bryan Adams afterwards and like re-sparked him again. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah. The artists use each other, that sparks, like, it gets his music into the young ears, and it just brings new life to him. But I'm sure Taylor, she probably loved Bryan Adams too, or her parents did.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice when they can get together and, crisscross their generations like that.
Yeah. And play.
But Bryan was a big one. I loved his songs are just timeless. But like I said, it's the 80s, so like I loved Bon Jovi, the pop stuff too, like Michael Jackson, Madonna. It was like all that kind of stuff that was on like B94, which was huge in that time frame. There was always like the top 8 at 8, and you had to be, if you were the 10th caller, you would get these crazy prizes, concert tickets, CDs. CDs were just, on their way into the world at that point. But I won probably 4 times calling in, guessing the number one song, and have an older brother. He won, I swear, at least 30 some times calling in, and he was always winning.
When would they do the contest? Would it be like a morning thing?
No,
or?
it was at night. It was at 8 o'clock. So it
Okay.
was the top 8 at 8. And when it got to like the number 2 song played, and you had the, well, when would you call it? It was around like between 8 and 8:30. And so I just remember like I had to like you just knew how to dial this number because it wasn't cell phones or redial. And then you hit a busy signal. Hurry up, kill it, get back. And it's like do 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 do. It was just so automatic. It's so crazy. It's just thinking about it now how we would do that stuff.
Reliving it, and you
Yeah.
get the chance to win like free concert tickets, and they're giving
Yeah.
great prizes. I
Yeah.
mean, you probably listen to so much music too in that meantime while you're waiting for that 8
Right.
o'clock
Yeah.
to strike.
It was a big deal back then. Like you wanted your song to be number 1. And when you had a tape recorder, like you would tape the whole thing because there wasn't online stuff. You couldn't have digital. There was nothing like that yet. So you would record the whole thing. You would record your song like old school.
Yeah.
It was a cool time to come up because like, if you come up now, this is all it's all at your fingertips. Back then it wasn't. It was you had to wait for your song, or you couldn't YouTube anybody and watch every little thing they've done live. You had to wait and find out when they're going to be on TV and tune in and hopefully catch it. So
That's big. I didn't even think of it that way either. With like, if I want to listen to somebody right now, I'm just like,
oh yeah.
boom.
Yeah, it's so easy
And
now.
before it was like you just had to listen through everybody else's, so you automatically were getting inspiration from other artists and like, oh, this song's pretty good too.
Right.
The
Now
amount
we
of
don't
music.
have that.
Yeah, the amount
Not
of
as
music
much.
is insane.
Yeah.
Like
True.
the amount that you can get lost for days on
Yeah.
YouTube. And I could like Sundays, I swear, like I literally just me and my dad, literally kitchen, it's like YouTube, and he's
Yeah.
playing music, and it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's the best. It's
You
the
could
best.
pull up anything that you could possibly think of. And I love to go back. Like we just saw Bryan Adams on last Friday. So I was up there one night. I'm on YouTube. I'm watching all these old live versions of the songs that I didn't, look up before. And you can learn so much about any artist.
Right.
So it's a great tool for sure.
They all have a story, just like
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Take us back whenever you first started playing guitar. Was it hard to then transition to knowing how to play and sing at the same time?
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. Like it's not just when you first start playing guitar, first you got to get through like the calluses on your fingertips. And you can see I just played last night. So these things are like, they're super hard. But you got to get to that point because that's what allows you to play longer. But when you first start, this is painful. Your forearm, your all this, it cramps up, and it's not a fun process to learn guitar. A lot of people will quit before they get to that next step. But you just have to really want to do it at that point, But yeah, I was so used to singing and not having to worry about like, dealing with keeping time or rhythm like with a piano or guitar. So then once you learn your chords, and you're always learning new chords, but then there's this arm, and this is your strumming pattern. This is like you got to be in sync with the drummer and the bass player. So there's a lot of things going on with it that you just over time, it just becomes like second nature, unless you're learning like a new strumming pattern or something. It's always a little difficult to pair up the vocals and the timing, but over time, you can do it.
Yeah.
So it takes a time. It takes some time. It probably took me about a year once I started to really get comfortable with it and start playing out. So, but I was always singing, but I would, gradually introduce, I'd grab the guitar for like a song or two on an hour set with the band. It wouldn't be like the whole time. Like now I can do 4 hours and just, keep going and going. But, yeah, I started when I was 21. Do you remember there was a teacher that was playing the guitar at Neil? It was Gary Reese. You guys remember Mr. Reese?
Yeah.
So he had a guitar in his classroom.
Uh-huh.
And I was getting into more like the acoustic stuff, those kind of bands. And so he would play and I would sing. I would just tell him what songs I liked. And after a while, just in general, like I always wanted to be self-contained. When I first started, I was singing with other people. I was in a band. And I just realized, if I want to do this, I don't want to rely on other people to play the guitar for me or have to sing with me or, round up musicians. So that was really what sparked like, all right, man, you gotta do this on your own. Because other people along the way were, their heart wasn't in it, or they were just going down different roads. Their passions were in different things. They didn't take it as seriously, and that's fine. You don't have to. You do what you do, But at that point, I'm like, if I really want to like have a chance at doing anything, I have to be able to depend on myself first. Now, if I want to add people to that, that's great. But I never have to turn down a gig because I don't have somebody. You know, you got me. That's number one. Like, you got that product. Now, if you want more people, you know, something like, hey, can you do an 8-piece? I'm like, nah, I can't we don't do that kind of thing.
Right.
But, you know, never had to say no, you know, because of numbers, I guess.
Right.
You
You
know?
got to be like, that's a great, I think, life lesson too, where it's just be that much more marketable and like put the time into yourself and invest in yourself and like really learn it if it's something that you really want to do.
Right. And that was like that's the first phase, you know, being independent. And then the next part that comes along, for me at least, was the songwriting. You know, now just being a songwriter and really, you know, you gotta take yourself out of the masses. You know, everyone can play people that play guitar. There's a lot of people that can play guitar, and even better than me. And there's lead guitarists that are amazing. Everyone has their niche, but once you say, all right, I'm gonna songwrite now. Now it takes you out of this big mass of people, and now you're in a smaller group. You know, so now you're a songwriter, and now you're recording, and that takes you out of that group, and now you have an album, and now you're presenting your music to the world. So there's a lot, man. Like,
It's a lot of
music. You have to
music.
love it. You have to love anything you're doing. You have to love it to deal with all the little intricate details and hardships that come along with it.
Right.
You know, so it's just a testament to how much I love music, to even just be where I am at this point in life, you know.
Yeah.
So
What jump started the music writing? Because
Oh,
in
man.
songwriting, that's like a whole nother ball game. I mean, once you're mixing in chords,
Yeah.
lyrics, and then to go and record it, like you said, I like get
Yeah.
mind blown when I hear this story about Chris Stapleton every time that he was just a songwriter
Yeah.
in Tennessee for those many years, and then just
Yeah.
decides to sing one day.
I
You're
know.
like, dude, what?
And his voice is amazing. It's
Right.
killer.
Right.
Maybe they didn't know that his image would work at first. Maybe it was that. Who knows?
Right.
But those songwriters, once they get so many hits for other artists, you know, they can put out their own little album and, like, you know, the songwriter to this artist, so many number ones, and then people will go see them too.
Yeah.
So that's a avenue that a lot of people take. I personally, you know, I like to write for me. You know, I never would probably. I mean, I would if I was commissioned, and I've been offered at times, you know, to write for certain things. I'll do that, but I never wrote with like another artist in mind, like to sing it, because I don't know. I do it for me. You know.
Yeah, you think in your head, you're like, I gotta
Yeah.
perform like this.
So what led to the songwriting? You know, I dabbled as a kid writing, but didn't realize what I was doing or why I was doing it. Just like to write and try to like come up with these little melodies. It was so premature that I didn't know why I was really doing it. You know, I just thought it was a little fun habit. I went, you know, the song "I'll Be" by Edwin McCain. It was like a huge. It's like an "I'll be your."
Oh, yeah.
That song resonated with me so much. So I went to see him live, and that was like the only hit he had at the time, and he really didn't have many more after that. But I still loved him as an artist. He has good stuff that a lot of people will never know because they, you know. But when I saw him live, and I went to see, you know, just for the song "I'll Be," and I'm just like, man, I don't know, something happened when I went to see him. Like, I want to write too, because I saw what writing one, just getting one. If you can just write one that can break through, changes your life, you know. So, and that's what that was really what inspired me to be a songwriter, and even part of it was to get some guitar lessons and really start hammering it. But yeah, that I would say, and he inspired me to really go down that road, because I don't know if I would have done it as, you know, with enough like passion or wanted to. I just still loved to sing and stuff. But yeah, after seeing him, it really made me just say, all right, I want to do this. Wow. I want that chance. I want that chance to hit it, you know. I don't even care about the fame. I really didn't. I would just want, you know, if something would happen, I just like would want, you know, to take care of my family, have an easier life, and, you know, financially, I guess. So there's all kind of little motivating things behind everything we do.
Right.
But that was the moment I'm like, I want to do this.
Nice.
You know.
What do you think it is about music and like expressing yourself with music in general that you like the most? Like, how has it shaped your life?
It's very therapeutic, you know, like it helps when you're dealing with, you know, things in your life, you know, loss of a family member or a breakup or anything like that. It's such an outlet. So, you know, I mentioned how I loved how it made me feel, but the writing process, when you write a song, like you have to be going maybe through some things or know a friend that's going through something or a situation, because you can write about anything that's going on in your environment or around you or even in the world, you know. So that's what I like. That's what it does for me. It started out as really an outlet, you know, with whatever I was going through, whether it was, you know, like I said, relationships or breakups or whatever that is. It really helped. It was very therapeutic, you know. And then when you share that and you play that out now, you know, they're so personal when I write the songs. I had to like really tell myself, all right, generalize some of this so like people can relate. You don't want to be very specific about certain things. So, but then when you let that out and you create that based on a feeling or something you were going through, and now other people can relate to it, I mean, that's a really good feeling.
How tough was it to get over the hump of once you created a song, now going and playing it in person to other people? Was that tough for you to do?
You mean as far as like
Performing
letting
wise.
them hear it?
Yes.
No, that part for me, I couldn't wait for that part. I love that part. I love like when I write a new song now, I can't wait for that moment where I can, you know, unveil it to the people and just get the feedback and see what happens. No, I don't get nervous about that kind of thing. I really, like, for me to play a song out in front of other people, it's already past like my criteria, what I think is good and things like that. So I feel confident that way. And I think when you play a song for other people, you have to feel that way about it first. Because if you can't convey it to them, and if you don't believe in it and you're not into it, it's going to be hard to expect them to have a chance of feeling those same feelings.
Yeah,
You know?
you got to be 100% in. That's like
yeah.
everything you do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not and you're not confident, then everybody I think picks up on that and they're like, "Oh, this song isn't that good." But if like say you wrote a song that was like absolutely terrible, I mean, not saying that any
No,
of yours are, but like if you were confident in the way that you sung it, people would be like, "Oh, yeah, this is awesome."
Yeah,
know?
you have to portray like when I see an artist, you know, what attracts me is like how passionate they are about it.
Yeah.
And how, you know, how they move you. It's like they always say, when you go to a concert, don't expect a perfect performance. Just, you want to be moved. You know, even if there's a mess. I've seen so many of my heroes like, at concerts, you know, flub a note, flub a chord, forget a lyric. Who cares?
Right.
Because it's part of live music, and it's also, you know, they're into it, they're passionate about it. It happens. I mean, it's just real life. No one's perfect.
There's
know?
nothing that beats live music. I went and saw Ray LaMontagne this past, I think, fall, and he literally was halfway through a song, and he goes to start on like the third verse, and he goes, "Oh shit, I forgot the lyrics." And,
Yeah.
and I think that part of music is really cool.
Yeah.
Especially live music versus you go to a concert and somebody's just up there
Yeah.
lip singing. You know.
Yeah. You wanna enjoy what you're watching, and especially if it's someone you like, you want them to be into it. Otherwise, you know, you can see when someone's just mailing it in, you know.
Right.
So that's how, when I'm playing, if someone's watching or listening, I don't care if it's, you know, 5 people. If I know they're listening, like, I'm going to do my best, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Leaving
just
it
how
all
I
out
feel.
there.
Who's been the, like, you, in your opinion, the best performance you've seen live?
Best live performance.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I've seen so many artists that, you know, they all, oh man, that's going to be hard to pick one. I mean, I just saw Bryan Adams. That guy's insane. I know he's like from the 80s and 90s, but his, like, Summer 69, Cuts Like a Knife, his voice, he moves me. Every time I see him, I'm just like, man, that guy's amazing. Performances, gosh. It's hard to pick out one. I've been to so many concerts. I can't pick one. I really can't pick one. But as far as artists, like, that move me. Edwin moves me when he does I'll Be, for sure. There's some big money notes in that, so I'm always like nervous for him. I'm like, oh God, I hope he hits it. You know,
He hits this note, and it's like, ah.
yeah, it's the big one,
Yep.
and I'll Be. There's like that one real long one. He always hits it. Trying to think of some other artists that really just I'm on the edge of my seat, and
It's tough because there's
It
so
is.
many out there, and
It
I'm sure
is.
you've seen so
Like,
many as well.
Listen to
yeah,
so
like
much music.
my favorite band is the Goo Goo Dolls. They're my
yeah.
favorite. I love Johnny Resnick. You know, he's all about alternative tunings and stuff. So he has a different guitar handed to him for every song. So, you know, naturally I got into alt tunings. So I've written a few, probably like 4 songs in alternate tunings, along with like just your regular standard tunings too. So I love seeing them live. You know, when I see Iris, when I hear them do Iris or Black Balloon, you know. But every artist I go see, there's something about them that I can never say what was the best performance though, because they're all so different.
Right.
You know.
The
So-
Goo Goo Dolls with Iris, whenever the YouTube clip and they're playing in the pouring down rain.
Oh yeah.
That might be the most iconic live performance.
Yes.
Hands down.
That was at Red Rocks
yeah.
in
It's
Colorado.
pouring down
Yeah.
rain.
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah.
up there. He doesn't care if he gets electrocuted. He's
classic.
yep, everybody's just like shirts off. It's a party
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
and I'm
for
like,
you
that's
guys, yeah.
music. Like you
Yeah.
feel it even just watching the YouTube video, and you're like, damn, I feel this in my chest. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
I cover a lot of his stuff. Like when I do cover songs, you know, I definitely pull from we would do Iris, we do Black Balloon, we do a lot of those Slide. But yeah, he's another one that inspired me in the songwriting, cuz he feels it, man. Like he loves it, and you know, I watch them, they're still putting out music, and there's times where I'm like, how long am I going to do this? Like when am I going to lose that drive to do it, because you can't shut it off on your own. You really can't. It hasn't shut off yet, and then I see these guys in their late 50s and 60s, and even the Stones.
I was just
you know.
going to say, you
Yeah.
got the Rolling Stones shirt on, and Mick
Yeah.
Jagger's up there playing at 80 years old
Yeah.
almost.
Springsteen 70 something. I'm like, wow, you know, it's I don't know, it's inspiring to see them continuing to do it. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe it never turns off for you. You
Maybe it
just
never
play,
does.
yeah.
Ideally, it never turns off. I feel like, right?
yeah, I guess it doesn't, because
Yeah.
there's times, you know, I'll do maybe like there could be a week where I'll do like 5 gigs in 6 days, or 5, 6 and 7. It's a lot of playing.
Right.
And when I'm done, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to hear music. Like I don't even want to hear it in the car. And I turn on Mark Madden all the time, because I'm so consumed with music that when I'm in the car, most of the time I'll throw on like iHeartRadio or like 105.9, and I'll play back some like Mark Madden episodes. That I love him. He's like my favorite like sports talk.
He's a
person
wild
out
man.
there.
Classic
He's,
Yinzer
yeah,
right there.
he's my favorite, right? So his mom taught at North Hills, and my dad taught at North Hills, and she was like head of the union, Peggy Madden. So I mean, there's like that little connection there, and always loved Mark. And it's so crazy because he loves Blue Oyster Cult. He loves music in general. He always has like the big people on his show when they're in town. But I opened for I've done a few shows where he was in the audience. At Jurgles, I did a show with Kip Winger. Now he's real tight with Red Beach, who is from Fox Chapel, but he's the lead guitarist for Winger and Whitesnake, which are big '80s bands, you know.
I know Whitesnake.
Yeah, you know.
Here I come again.
Yeah, here I go.
again.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Banger.
Still of the Night, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mark was in the audience. I remember after I was done, I went up on the balcony and, you know, introduced myself to him. So now, you know.
You have
we
that
know-
connection.
There's a little connection there. And then I did another show. It was the second time I opened up for Blue Oyster Cult. And they're pretty classic. If you guys ever
Great
saw
band.
Saturday Night Live, where it was the more cowbell skit,
Oh, yeah.
they were
Yeah.
impersonating Blue Oyster Cult. And that was the song, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Reaper.
Yeah.
Banger.
Yeah.
Banger. I love some old music, Mark. I'm like an old music junkie. so-
Yeah, you do. You
Yeah.
know it, man. I'm
No,
impressed.
I
Alex
was,
is all about that.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
I literally have a full blown playlist here. I'll pull it up. for you.
You teaching yourself to play guitar still?
I
or-
am, and I was
Are
going
you?
to mention that. Yeah.
Cool.
So I've been trying. I got the fingertips too. I mean the calluses.
Yeah.
I got a guitar. What was it? I think it was last Christmas, and I was like, I stopped hooping, so I'm like, I need something to do in the winter because I was just working full time.
Yeah.
And so like winter comes around, I'm like, I'm gonna teach myself how to play.
Totally.
So It's funny you brought up singing and playing together, and I think I learned best trying to sing the song and play it at the same time. Like I
Okay.
feel like I learned it better.
Okay.
I'm like a campfire level guitar player though, so I'm
there you
nothing
go.
crazy. Like
Hey, that's where it starts, man.
bar chords frighten me. Like I can't. Like I'm like trying to do like a B. I'm like, okay, no way.
Bar
I'm doing this.
bar
It's tough.
chords are tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. But once you get through that in that formation, they're all movable chords. So
Right.
you can just run up the frets and you got a different note. So then your vocabulary, like your chord vocabulary, grows.
Yeah.
You know. So, but back to Mark Madden real
Yes,
quick.
yes.
Right?
Finish this story.
So
I'm sorry.
I was doing this is the second time open for Blue Oyster. It was at Carnegie Homestead Music Hall. Great place to play. That one of those questions I think was what's your favorite place? That is my favorite place. But we'll elaborate more on that. But so I'm playing. I go on. He's in the front row. My girlfriend's right next to him. Well, there's an empty seat, then her, and like I'm like tuning up. I look at her, and she's like, she points. I'm like, oh shit, you know.
Wait, I had
It
the
just
pressure.
makes it a little nervous because he's like right there, and he's such a critic on music and rock and everything. But I'm like, it's all right, it's all good. But then when I was done, I go right up to the front row. Here's Mark, here's me, here's my girl, and it was just like, it was just crazy. It was just like, what a night, you know?
Right.
I'm just hanging with Mark.
Opening for Blue Oyster
Yeah,
Call.
and then front row watching them just kill it. So I've had a lot of really pinch myself little moments.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than that. That was cool locally because I just think he's the best sports talk guy in the world. And I even gave him a shout out when I was on the mic before my last song.
That's
Mark
sweet.
Madden's in the house. Everyone started cheering, and you never know because he makes so many people mad at him.
He does.
But
yeah.
hey,
He's a polarizing guy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
for sure.
But everyone was like cheering, and I'm like, please never retire, man. I listen to your show all the time. So that was a
awesome.
cool
That's
moment
awesome.
there.
Shout out Mark Madden.
That's a core memory.
Pittsburgh
right
legend.
there.
Yeah.
He's got to get you. Have you ever been on the show and like played?
No,
We gotta
nothing
get that.
like that. I've been on DV, but
Yeah.
never like.
He's very just sports like.
He never
just
has anyone
drill
on
in.
performing,
Right,
for sure.
right.
He'll interview like Reb or people that come to town or comedians like Bill Burr and anyone that's on, that comes through iHeartRadio. They'll
Yeah.
throw him over to Mark, but.
So you kind of touched on it a second ago, but like, what are your top like 2 or 3 like wow moments where you're like, pinch me, this can't be real?
There's a couple. There's definitely a few. I would say one of the big ones, the first time you hear yourself on the radio. So, and that was a long time ago, and it wasn't even for like a song that I'm that proud of. But that was the very first time that happened, or that happens. It's insane. I knew what time it was going to be coming on. I got a Rolling Rock, because that's my beer. I like others, but that's just my beer. It was like a celebration.
Yeah.
I had it already, man. I had the beer there. I had the radio blasting. I actually blew out one of my speakers. But I had like surround sound. I had it going
Rightfully
through.
so.
Yeah, it was a little tweeter, blew out. I'm like, oh gosh. But that was definitely a moment. Singing the first time I did the national anthem at PNC Park, that was definitely a surreal moment because my dad and I we've had like a 9-game season ticket package since PNC Park opened. Nice, like we're in 121, like right there behind Pirates dugout, just one section back. So all those years, I'm like, I love watching people sing the anthem. Like I would always want to get there so I could just watch and listen and get nervous for them too. Like as soon as they would start, I'm like, I think they started this too high. It's gonna get squirrely. So I'm very like, I'm just critical and I'm like listening. But so 2 years ago, that was actually the first time I did it. I auditioned. There was a hookup through Yajagoff, which is they're close friends of mine. It's Johnny Angel's daughter, Rachel, and this guy John Chamberlain, and they do they're like a traveling podcast. They'll go to different places and different companies and stuff like that. So I've been doing things for them. They're like, Mark, what can we do to help you? Like, what do you want? I don't want anything. I don't do it for anything. Just it's fun to do. You're featured on the show and things like that. I'm like, you know what? I'd really love to do an anthem at one of our sport teams. Preferably Pirates. And so they just made it. They got me in the door. And I remember the Pirates were away. They were in LA for like a 3-day thing. This was 2 seasons ago. So I went down and to do the audition. They got me the audition. Stadium was completely empty, except, they just hand you the mic. It was actually in left field. So you walk out on the field, and it's like, all right, hand you the mic, and it's legit. I mean, you're mic'd, it's coming through the system.
Wow.
Crazy delay. Like the latency, like like latency with mics. But this delay was honestly almost a second off. So I ended up singing it very slow because it was so trippy. But I knew like
That's difficult.
that was difficult.
Yeah.
So I knew like so when I sang it, the girl gave me 3 dates, like almost on the spot for the Pirates. I'm like, man, I just wanted to do one. I just wanted to do one for my lifetime and just to have the experience. But I ended up doing 3, which was awesome. So the first one was like July 5th. That was the one. It always still feels like a pinch myself moment because I love baseball. I played at IUP. I was center fielder. So I love ball and I love music. And I get to do, obviously, baseball for a living. So the next best thing was to combine the two. I'm on the field. I'm like basically in the batter's box, like where the ump stands. Like I'm like stepping over the chalk lines.
Can't step on the line.
Yeah, you got to like watch where your feet go. Cameraman's like the beauty of playing out and having some like high stress shows in my past. It prepares you for this thing because I didn't have to play guitar. Obviously, I was just singing, which takes a lot of the pressure off. But there's a guy with a huge camera. It's like right in your face. You're looking this way, but he's like right here. And then there's a photographer down on a knee, like getting all these angles. And you have to ignore all that. And you got to just sing and hope you don't forget these words that you've known your whole life. But things happen.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is.
And so many people, even like the greats. I mean, what was it, Christina Aguilera? You think about all the people that have messed up the national anthem.
Yeah, there's a long list, and I don't want to.
You didn't want to be on
list.
it,
but I don't want to jinx myself because I'll be doing more of them, and but yeah, when it's a pressure situation and there's nerves involved. Sometimes I've seen it. You've seen it. Other artists they can blank, and so that was a pinch me moment. Sorry to go off on the Pirates.
Oh, you're good.
No, that's awesome.
And what was another one? Oh, definitely. So I said Edwin McCain inspired me to like really do the songwriting. Fast forward, I ended up opening for him down the road.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, talk about full circle. You idolize this. Well, you don't idolize, but like you just love this guy's music. You just appreciate what he created, and one of the best songs that I think of in my life that resonate with me. I get to open for him. It was crazy. I remember walking in, and in the back of Jurgles, I'm like cutting through the kitchen, and I can hear him sound checking. And I've seen him, and I've met him probably 4 other times at his shows, and he knew I did music, and he would ask me how's gigs, this and that. But I was still like working my way. I was still young. But so I'm walking in. I remember I'm carrying my guitar, and I can hear them. And oh my God, it was one of those moments where like fear kicked in for about 5 seconds. I was like fear. Mm-hmm. Like, what did I do? Why am I doing this? Like, I was so happy to have the opportunity, but then I was so like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why did I put myself in this pressure situation? Because it sounded like thunder, man. That was so loud. Their sound check, and it was like, I'm backstage. I'm just watching them on the side stage. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. So that was definitely a big moment there. I was more nervous at that moment than I was for the Pirates.
Right. Especially somebody that like
awesome.
inspires you and inspires you to songwrite, and next thing you know, you're opening for him and he's up there playing, and you're like,
it's a lot of pressure.
It's go time.
Yeah. And I remember when I was done, the guys, like, because you're breaking down your gear and they're bringing theirs on, and I know his band, Craig Shields is that sax guy, and Larry, he's the guitarist, and they're both coming up like shaking my hand. Great set. Edwin said great set, and we talked backstage for like 15 minutes, and he told me about this book called Outliers. So I ended up getting that book. My girlfriend bought it for me for like a Christmas present or something, just because him and I talked about this book, so that's one of those. I mean, I have a lot more of those pinch me moments, but I would say those are my top 3. Edwin, the first time, singing at the Pirate game, and first time you hear your song on the radio.
Wow.
But then there's next.
There's so
other
many more.
artists. There's other conversations. There's the first time you perform live in a radio station, live on the air, and it's going out. So
it's a really impressive list, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Pretty big accomplishments. So it's cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, if you want me, I'll name drop if you want me to name drop.
we
There's a lot.
you know, it's awesome. I sent Josh your website before we did this podcast, and I mean, just going through your Facebook and going through the things you post,
Yeah.
I'm like, man,
I was
it's
looking
solid.
through. I'm like, oh,
we scrolled
shit,
through,
like-
and I'm like, CeeLo Green, and
Yeah.
all the what I find super interesting is the amount of actors that
Yeah.
play music
It's crazy.
and the amount of actors that you've played with, like
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon. What was it this past summer?
That was in April.
Take us
It was
through that
last year.
experience. How the heck does that come to be?
Yeah, so I saw they were coming. And I had already done a show with Dennis Quaid, so like I already was in like the acting little circle there a little bit. But I saw Kevin was coming, and now I'm connected with Drusky Entertainment now, and Rich Engler as well from This Caesar Engler. They were the big promoters back in the day. But Rich Engler still works and does, he promotes shows. He works with Brian Drusky as well. And, they'll see people coming through, or I'll see people coming through that I think would be a good fit, So when I saw Kevin was coming with the Bacon brothers, it's him and his brother Mike. His brother's like 9 years older than him, but they've been together since about like 98, 99. So they've been doing this a while. Like they care about it. It's not like, hey, I'm an actor. I'm going to go try this. They're into it, and they treat it like they're just normal guys trying to, they don't float the band. They don't pay for everything. Everyone, it's just like they just start a band and these guys all do it. But,
That's cool.
so
That's cool to see.
yeah. So I saw they were
Correct,
coming,
nice.
and I'm like, Brian, I'd like to get on that one if we can do it. So he's like, I'll send some links over to their management, and then he calls me back, probably like in a day or two. Actually, it was an email, and he's just like, all right, you're on it. We need to get this contract confirmed, and it's just at that point, it's all like contracts and
Right.
stuff,
Paperwork.
So when I got that, I was like, I'm always pretty psyched when I get something, like that, or there's a big artist coming through, or someone that I respect. Like I love Kevin Bacon. My favorite spooky movie is Stir of Echoes. I don't know if you ever saw it. Great movie. I mean, I've always been talking about that movie. So when anyone that knows me knows I'm not just blowing smoke now because I was opening for him. That I had to find a movie of his I liked.
Yeah.
But he's in so much stuff. We were just watching an episode of Will and Grace yesterday. My girlfriend and I, and she's like, "You got to watch this episode." And you guys ever see Will and Grace?
Couple
Heard of it. I
episodes.
don't know
Yeah,
if
a
I
couple
watched it.
episodes, couple highlights. Yeah.
The one guy, Jack, he was like stalking Kevin, and Kevin's like, and he's trying to hire somebody to catch his stalker. He ends up hiring Jack, who is the stalker, and he's like, I don't have time for this. I got to find this guy, and then he mentions like, yeah, I'm in a band. I'm in Bacon Brothers. And this was in like 2004, I think this episode was out or so. And it was just, I'm just watching it now. I'm like, oh my God.
And he name dropped and you played with him.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, right. So he's talking about his own band, and I'm like, if I was watching this in 03 or 04, I would have never in a million years thought, I'm going to open for that band one day, So that was cool. I mean, when you mentioned CeeLo, he was doing a Christmas show, so he was doing a tour. And so Drusky submitted my Christmas song to them. I have a song called Under My Tree, so it gets a lot of like radio play, obviously around Christmas. Froggy plays it a lot. The rock station in Butler. So they heard the Christmas song, like, yeah, so they put me on the show. And so later on, when he was done, like I had met him, we did pictures and all that stuff. But later on, I went up and, they took me up, and I'm in his dressing room. He started singing my song back to me, which was,
Wow.
Even his own people were laughing because I was so freaked out by it. I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah, he was just singing the lick back, like the melody of the chorus.
And he can sing, man.
Yeah,
He can sing.
Yeah.
So obviously, he was listening and he liked it, and it was just like, that was crazy. And that's one thing about my style, I would say, like, I have a hard time explaining like what my music style is. Like, I intend to be rock, but not super heavy. And since I write everything acoustically, I'll record it full production, so it comes off. Then it sounds like a full band. You would never know. But and what's supposed to sound like a full band when you do full production. But it's all written. It's just me. It's me in a room, and so I feel like the fact that I can't even box my own self in, even when I try to. I'll write certain songs that people say, oh, that kind of sounds country, or that sounds rock, or that has like an R&B vibe. And I don't hate when anyone says anything, I like to hear what they think, you know. But I think that allows me to open up for different kinds of artists that come through. Because I mean, CeeLo's obviously R&B,
Right.
you know, hip hop R&B and that kind of vibe. And I was really in R&B in high school. I loved. There was a Boys to Men. You know, they were like they harmonized like no one else. You know, big hits. All Babyface wrote all their stuff. You know, just good singing. You know, so I feel like I can be pretty versatile if I'm gonna open for a certain artist. Then I'll tailor my set list to kind of reflect who I'm opening.
That's what I was going to ask next. How does that process work where you pick the songs that you want to play? Is it a let me feel out the band? Is it let me feel out who I'm playing with?
Yeah, it totally depends on who I'm going to be opening for. Now, if I'm opening for an actor or something like that, I'll just pick whatever I want because I'm not really, you know, they're not really, you know, they're acting's their thing. And they're not like a certain genre. Like Kevin Bacon, I knew they were more songwriting. I listened to what his music was like. So I honestly would pick anything for those. But for instance, like I did 2 shows with Uncle Kracker. So when I get that, so I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? I need to be more upbeat. I need to do some stuff that kind of could cross over a little bit more into the country vibe. So I'll tailor the set. You know, I'll skew that way. When it was Kip Winger, who's like 80s heavy metal rock, you know, hair band, then I'll pick different songs that rock and that have that vibe that would fit, that they would appreciate, you know. So yeah, it all depends on the artist, like what the set list is going to be. Like I just did a show with Mac McAnally, who is Jimmy Buffett's like right hand man for 40 years, his whole career. Him and Mac were like the songwriting duo.
Right.
And Mac, you know, he wrote a #1 hit for Kenny Chesney called Down the Road. Also has another cut on Kenny Chesney's like a 2006 album called Back Where I Come From. Great song. So when I got offered this one, I didn't even inquire on this one. They asked me to do it.
That's going to be a great feeling.
Yeah, it was amazing. I wasn't that up on him and Buffett. I saw Buffett before, front row, probably about 7-8 years ago. I'm glad I did now that,
Right.
you know, he passed in September. But when I was painting my family room, this was like the week before. It was right around the Super Bowl, so it was like February. And I'm just annoyed, you know, painting. I hate painting because I'm very OCD, so it has to be perfect, and
Right.
it ends up becoming so much more work for me. But anyway, I just checked an email. It's like, would you like to open for Mac? And I looked. I'm like, I didn't really like give it much thought because I didn't know him that well. I didn't really know about him, and I even waited probably like 4 hours to respond. When usually I'm just like, yes, you know. So I sat down after I was done painting for a while, and I looked at it, and I'm like, oh my God, this show's sold out. And then I realized who he was and who's affiliated with. I'm like, yes,
I'm there.
that's a yes. No, that's a no-brainer. So that was just March 1st. So for him being like Buffett, I know the crowd's gonna be a little bit older. You know, I didn't want to do anything that was gonna rock too hard. I think I only did one that was a little bit like that. It was Black and Gold because it's Pittsburgh and it's like, you know, a song that can resonate with everyone. But that was about as heavy as I got, and I kept everything more chill just because I want to be easy on the ears for the crowd.
Right.
You know. So, but I always do all original stuff though. I think I've done a cover 2 times in my whole career when I'm opening for someone. And if I did do a cover, it's just one song of the set. You know. So I didn't do any covers that night. I always do original stuff though, because that's what gets you the gigs.
The original stuff.
Yeah, that's what gets you those big gigs, I think, you know. And it's such a, you know, when you're opening for an artist, you know, they're most of the time, the majority of their set it's original material. They'll always throw a cover in too. So I feel like since they do that, you can do that too. But you only get about anywhere from a half hour to an hour. So I try to get as many songs in as I can. Like in a half-hour set, I can squeeze 6 songs in. So I limit my talking in between. I'll tell a quick little thing about it. But, you know, it all depends. And sometimes, you know, if you get an hour, it's usually about every 5 minutes you can count for a song. Yeah. Now, if you talk and give some storytelling, a half hour, you can do a strong 5 songs. but I don't want to waste an opportunity
To play more
to
music.
play another song, you know. So
I do love the breakdown that whenever an artist will tell a little bit about the
Yeah,
song prior to
break it
getting
up.
into it and interact with the crowd. I think it's
yeah,
that's a cool experience too. So
yeah, I like that too because
Yeah.
I like to know where it originated from, like what happened, where were you, what were you going through, what sparked the idea. I love hearing that about songwriters that I like or musicians I like, you know.
I watched Gary Clark Jr. last year.
Oh, we drinking on this already? I'm sorry.
Oh
guys.
yeah, no,
Oh,
you're
you're
good.
This is
You're
our
good.
sponsor.
This
right?
is our
out
sponsor,
Stoney's.
Stoney's Beer.
Nice.
My mouth was getting kind of dry, so I
I
was
was
like,
like,
I guess
Yeah,
I'll,
I
I guess
missed
I'll let
the
one
cue
go.
when you guys cracked them.
No,
man.
you're good. Cheers.
man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
Mark.
me on
Yes,
here,
thank
guys.
you, sir.
Cheers.
But yeah, cheers, my man. Stoney's. There we go.
Oh, that's good.
Fastest growing beer in Western PA.
I feel like we're tailgating here. Like we
Yeah.
going to a football game after
Yes.
this? Big game or
Little did you
something?
know.
It's a little early in our day, but
March
hey,
Madness.
March Madness is around.
Yeah.
How is it with you balancing teaching and all these gigs and
Oh, man. Yeah, it's tough sometimes. You know, like when I was going to college and stuff, my dad was a teacher at North Hills, you know, tech ed teacher. He's like, just get your degree, get your job, and then you can mess around with this. But he knew, I think in the back of his mind, he knew once you get that job, that's going to lock you down and keep you grounded, and you're not going to be able to really gamble and go after it as much and like just, you know, just I don't know, just because you risk a lot if you're really going to go all out. There's no guarantees.
right?
So, you know, I got the teaching gig, the teaching job, and then one good thing about that job though is, you know, you have your summers, you have your evenings, you have your weekends. Definitely the summers though. There was a couple summers where I lived in Nashville and just strictly was writing and recording because I could take 2 months and just go,
Yeah.
and that was nice. But if you really are going after it, you move there. You know, and not Nashville because it's country, but Nashville because it's songwriting, it's the recording artists, you know, or the recording studios and the musicians, and it's such a network, it's such a like a family down there once you get in. And I would just go down like maybe 4 times a year, go for the summer, and I made so many connections, and I was hardly there. If you really add up the time I was there, but in that time, I made so many like connections that were, you know, just to this day, I'm grateful for them. But yeah, so as far as doing gigs and teaching, it can be a challenge because I mean, yesterday I taught all day, and then you know we're playing from 7 to 10. So you know I'm up at like 6:30 a.m. and you know I'm getting older, man. So like it's not like you know it's that simple, but you feel that here and there. You know, you feel your age a little bit, but I don't know. Just you know, once I'm all set up, like there's times where I'm like dreading it, like oh god, I gotta go, you know. But it depends on the show. You know, if it's a venue I like, I'm excited. I love Deadhead Winery. I love Mike, the owner there. So that was fun playing there. It's very macabre. You know, it's all like skulls and all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I like Halloween. It's like my favorite holiday. So I love that whole vibe. But no, it can be tough, especially if it's like a couple nights during the week. So like a Tuesday night I play the Renaissance Hotel on Wednesdays, like once a month. But if it's just a Wednesday in the middle of the week, that's fine. But if it's like Wednesday night and then say there's a Thursday or a Friday, it starts to catch up to you.
Right.
It's tough, but you have to love it.
Yeah.
That's all I can really say. If you don't love it enough, that's a grind. It's a grind, you know. I mean, the money's motivating. That's definitely, I don't do it for nothing, obviously. But so that's a motivating factor. But there are times where, you know, I'll just say no to certain gigs, and even if the money's good, I don't want to right now. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's tough though. Yeah, it would be a lot easier if music was my full-time career. But what I've managed to accomplish while working 40 hours a week and then doing that, it takes time, it takes motivation, it takes tenacity, it takes dedication. And so I'm happy with what I've been able to accomplish, but I think I could have done a lot more if I wasn't teaching. But then again, you know, that's your livelihood. You can't. I would
Right.
never snub that because it, you know, it's allowed me to, you know, have the life I have and, you know, support myself in the meantime. Because music there's no guarantees.
Right.
Right.
There's not. It's nice. It's a nice supplement to my income, but I don't really do it for the income. You know, it was always just a passion. The money comes with it, which is nice. So it's so nice getting paid to do music.
That's got to be so.
I mean,
such
I'm
a
doing
rewarding
something.
feeling.
Yeah, you're doing something that's second nature. You're enjoying it. You know, there's times at your job you're not enjoying your job, but yeah, you're still getting paid. To just get lost and do something that's just something you would do most of the time, probably for free anyway.
Right.
That's great, man.
That's how you know you found it. Whenever you'd be willing to do it for free, and
Yeah.
and then the pay is just an added bonus.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. When they started paying me years ago, like, wow, all right, maybe I'm not so bad.
Yeah, maybe.
So it helps. It validates a little bit. You know?
Right.
That's awesome. One little closing question here. What would you say is your favorite venue around Pittsburgh to play, or that you have played so far?
Definitely the Carnegie of Homestead Music Hall. I did a show there with Natasha Bedingfield. That was the first time I played there. Talk about like the artists. There's such a variety of styles. That's my favorite. And the second time, like I said, was Blue Oyster. But it's it's like the Byam Theater. It has that. Have you guys been there for a show?
I went there
I
for
haven't.
that Tony Hinchcliffe the Tony Hinchcliffe comedy show, and man, it's awesome
It's
in there.
so cool in there. It's old school. And I grew up in Hayes, which is right down the road on Mifflin Road. I mean, all the homes are like basically torn down now, and they put like it's just like a road now. It totally is not what it was when I was a kid. But I grew up like literally 2 miles from there. You know, I used to work at Sandcastle. So Carnegie Homestead's right there past the high level bridge. So I feel like, and there was a little Catholic school right outside of that, of the theater. It was called St. Michael's. So my brother went there, but then that closed when I was entering into, first grade. I ended up going to a little Catholic school in Baldwin, St. Albert's. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one, up on Churchview Avenue. But anyway, so it's like my hometown. That's my blood right there. Those are my roots. So to be there, and it's such a theater. It's beautiful. The sound is amazing. It's more the sound. The sound quality was just haunting. It was beautiful. I love it.
It's so crazy too, because the architecture in there, you wouldn't expect it to sound as good as it does, because it's so old. It's like the wooden seats in the stands, and then you're up on the stage, and there's a balcony over top too.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And to play with Natasha Bedingfield, jeez.
Right. There's really
Yeah,
some
that
cool
was cool.
places around Pittsburgh. Honestly, it's kind of underrated in some ways.
Yeah.
Lots of hidden places too.
Yeah.
And when we were first starting, Nick's Fat City was like the place. It's, what is that now? It's right across like
City.
Cata Corner from Mario's. I
forget.
don't know what that's called now. God, I don't even go there anymore. But that was the spot. Like Springsteen would
Is it the
walk.
Flats? Is it called the Flats now?
I'm not sure.
It's
it
right down from the
In
con.
Southside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, or Sky Bar or something.
Okay.
I think it's like right
Something
it's
there.
that. But that used to be Nick's Fat City. And that was the place where you wanted to be. That's where the Clarks were playing all the time. And I just
We didn't even talk about the Clarks.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
didn't even talk about the
That
Clarks.
was one. I know you guys have probably got a time frame, but yeah, I did a New Year's Eve. It was
sure
a
we go a little
New Year's
over.
Eve show with them. So I opened for them, did about a 45-minute set, and that was cool. I mean, they're
awesome.
They're like history here. They're fan favorites for sure. So it was nice to link up with them because I respect them as songwriters. And so I felt like my style would fit their audience too. So
You're in the Pittsburgh category, I feel like, now, of like the great like Pittsburgh music crowd. I feel like there's not a lot of
I
people that
appreciate it, man.
recognize how great Pittsburgh music is, like Clark's, Rusted Root,
Donnie Iris.
Donnie
yeah,
Iris.
Donnie.
Yeah.
Here's a fun little fact. There's a salad dressing, or Beano's. You ever hear of Beano's? Original submarine dressing.
I feel like I have heard.
It's
of
in
this
all the
before.
grocery stores across the country, but they're based here. So I got put on. There's a little QR code on. They have a bunch of different kinds, but it's the original submarine dressing. And on the QR code, if you scan that, if you would buy it and you scan it, or you can just be in the aisle and do
Just
it.
scan.
Yeah, since they're from here, they wanted to promote local music, and so if you scan that, a whole playlist comes up. It's like me, Bill Deasy, the Clarks,
Wow.
Gene the Werewolf, Donnie Iris. So I'm on that playlist with all the
That's
Pittsburgh
insane.
greats. I'm not saying I'm great, but it's awesome.
We're saying you're
saying
great,
It's
Mark.
awesome to be featured on there for sure. So
Wow.
that's like
Man.
that's something I always forget to mention. It's kind of cool though.
That is
That
really
is-
cool,
I
honestly.
always tease people.
That's awesome.
Whoever thought like Italian dressing was gonna be
Right.
my thing?
That's
There you go.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's
I guess
epic.
with a little bit of time, I mean, I think we're getting close on an hour.
Yeah.
If you're up to it, Mark,
Yeah, you
if we get a little song sample
Close us
in,
out.
or close us out with a little song, whatever you want to play.
Yeah, we can.
It's our first music guest on, so
we
I
can
think a
rock
song
it
would
out
be
for
pretty
sure.
cool.
All right, let me go get my guitar then.
Sweet.
So I wrote "Meant to Be." Oh my god, it was on my first album, so it was a long time ago. The song's probably 20 years old, but it's a fun one, pretty energetic, like upbeat type song. So
Very cool.
all right, so it's called "Meant to Be" here. Hopefully, we don't have any flubs. Here we go. Always in a fight, can't do nothing right. You complain that I don't feel the same. Always on my mind, wasting all my time. You don't hear a single word I say. I wish for things I knew could never be. I'm living an illusion. You can't accept the things I really need. And there is no solution. Time won't change the way that I am. Maybe we're meant to be alone. And time won't change the lines of my hands. Maybe we're meant to be alone. Oh yeah. Everything is wrong when we don't belong. You betrayed a love I tried to save. There was no remorse, fate'll take its course. And I can't have it any other way. I'm paralyzed by the things you try to say. Your bitterness, it chills me. And all along I failed to realize your promises were lies. Time won't change the way that I am. Maybe we're meant to be alone. And time won't change the lines of my hands. Maybe we're meant to be alone. We're just meant to be alone. I'm paralyzed by the things you try to say. Your bitterness, it chills me. And all along I failed to realize your promises were lies. Time won't change the way that I am. Maybe we're meant to be alone. And time won't change the lines of my hands. Maybe we're meant to be alone. And time won't change the way I am. Maybe we're meant to be alone. Time won't change the lines of my hands. Maybe we're meant to be alone.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. That
was awesome.
Awesome.
That
man.
sounded
Holy
amazing.
shit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah.
That
that's-
is incredible. Like, what a song, what lyrics. I mean, playing, strumming patterns there. I mean, like, everything. It was incredible.
Wow.
I mean, I wrote that. God, I mean, I was like, that song's like 20 years old. So I wrote that when I was, in my early 20s, and I don't know. Like, sometimes you just get lucky and you come up with a vibe, And I don't know. I like the whole, And though I never recorded that full band though. That's still on my list. You know, I just have it acoustically on the album with some acoustic guitar lead work that hired someone to do. But
Sounds incredible just acoustically though.
Oh,
I
thanks.
mean, jeez.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's an
Wow.
energy to that one. I think when I did the Clark show, that was the second song in. I came in with a song called Out of Me, then went right into Meant to Be. Because it's just
Gets the people
it's
going.
It's a good one.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, it's upbeat. It's upbeat, and I feel like it has a good energy to it. So
Wow.
That
a lot
was
of people like it.
absolutely incrable. I'm like blown away. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
it's so
ready
raw
to,
right
yeah.
now. We're just chilling here
We're
behind
just
the
hanging
mic.
out.
We're
You're just
drinking,
like,
we're drinking a beer.
Yeah.
It's
Stony
Saturday morning. It's a typical Saturday morning, right?
Right.
Having
This
a
is
beer at like
every Saturday
3
morning
o'clock.
for us.
Always something to it.
Wow. Well, we thank you for coming
Yeah.
on, man. That was
Well, thank you
amazing.
guys for
I wish
having
we
me.
could go longer, but
I'm always uncomfortable talking about myself like this and
Mm-hmm.
to this length because I feel like it feels like braggy, and because I don't really like to talk about myself. I feel
Mm-hmm.
that people get bored of that. But thank you for featuring me and
Always.
appreciating the music and thinking it's worth talking about. So
absolutely.
And
We
Alex,
appreciate you.
amazing.
you've grown into a fine young adult, man. You must have had a great health and phys ed teacher back in the
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah. Show me the
That's
right way
right.
and keep getting after it, And we appreciate it, Mark. Seriously, thank you. And we'll have to
You're
do this
welcome,
again. Maybe we'll do like just a half a
Part
show,
two.
just you just rocking out.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. If you ever need a theme song for the show or something, Black and
Ooh.
Gold, Black and Gold would be perfect for this.
Hey.
You
yeah.
guys are based, you
Well,
you can just.
hey.
I don't want anything for it. Just if you ever want to use anything, just let me know.
Right
for
on.
the
You know what I
intro
mean?
music.
But yeah, next
That's
time
not
I
a bad
get
idea.
the next big show, though, I'll throw you guys over a couple ticks. And
Sweet.
if you're free June 22nd, that's the next national anthem at the Pirate game. I can hook you guys up with tickets.
I'll probably
too.
be there.
He'll probably be there. He takes pictures for the Pirates.
Oh,
so
do you?
He
Yeah.
does.
Well, I work for
Yes.
so I'll be around the field, so I'll be
So
able to see you.
you
right
hired
there.
by them, like.
So I work for Major League Baseball
Okay.
directly for like their social media team.
Oh,
and,
that's cool.
So we work for both teams when we're there. But,
Yeah.
I'll be down there.
He'll be
So-
getting some
Very cool.
pictures of you too. That's for sure.
Yeah, are you
I
down
hope
like
I work
on the
that game.
field? Like,
Oh, yeah,
All right,
right there.
cool.
It
Well,
was-
then we'll make sure we hook up and say hello down there at least.
Yeah, that'd be
But yeah,
awesome.
if you guys need tickets for that game, I know you're there. But if you,
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to plug anything before we get off, or name drop anything any events coming up before we close out?
what's the next event? I'll be down at the Porch in Shenley, in Oakland on Thursday night. It's it's just always there's always something.
Something
I'm
new.
at the Renaissance April 10th, and then the next 3 months after that. If you just go to the website, so
Mark Ferrari.
Mark Ferrari
Music.com.
So all one word, Mark Ferrari Music, Ferrari just like the car. So markferrarimusic.com. All the events are there. You'll see, there's the news, the updates, pictures, everything that I've done over forever. So
Nice.
oh, I forgot one more thing, guys.
Yeah.
I didn't
Add it
name. I know we've been name dropping, but it all started. I opened up for George Jones 2 years in a row, who was like Johnny Cash,
Yeah.
Elvis, like the country,
That's where you get some of the country
royalty.
from.
Yeah, I mean, he was just like, he was boys with all those guys, Elvis, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, all that stuff. So that's
Iconic.
that's when it really started. That's when it all started. Like as far as those moments of like opening for big time people and historically, famous people at that point. So
Makes
anyway,
sense. Got to plug that one.
Awesome.
In.
Sorry
Mark
for all that
Ferrari.
name dropping.
No,
We'll-
Mark
we'll-
Ferrari.
MarkFerrariMusic.com. We'll
Yeah.
plug that in the description on YouTube and in
Okay.
the podcast itself, and we'll be posting this up all over social media as well. So
I appreciate that. I
we
do.
appreciate you. It's the end of episode 34.
Awesome.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, see you guys.
I'm here